wants to play, and Drew Tate doesn't know that. The game's going to end on this play. He fires downfield. It's caught, and into the end zone.
Goes to the end zone, lobs it to the front corner. Upset eye, Ross throws a block for Sargent. He's got a call over that goal line. Hurdles in for a touchdown. Opening score on the opening possession touchdown.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Play the Fight Song family here at the Iowa Hawkeye Fan Perspective. A bit of an emergency podcast. I wish I could say this was planned. I wish this was like later in the week and we didn't have this news and we were rolling through everything like I planned out for the spring. That's not the case. Obviously, as you see here, joined with me here today is Nate Simmons, fellow Hawkeye. Welcome him on to the Play the Fight Song show. We're here to talk Kadyn Proctor. Not for the reasons we hope. This is probably the fourth or fifth big news drop within the Iowa community that has been surrounding this name. Guess how many snaps he's played, Nate, at the University of Iowa?
I'm going to say 0.
Yeah, I'm going to go 0 as well. 0 snaps this kid has played in Iowa City. A ton in the state of Iowa, just not in Iowa City. Kadyn Proctor decides he is going to enter the transfer portal window this spring. This will start in the middle of April, I believe, like around the 14th or 15th is the date the spring window opens. He has decided to hit the portal. It is believed he is going back to Alabama. The big thing I got, just an immediate reaction was, why? Right? Like the initial thing coming out of Alabama was Saban retires. So you're like, oh, maybe he, kind of got the Saban discount going to Alabama a little bit. Saban leaves. Maybe he's not thinking it's the place for him anymore. He's a little homesick, wants to come home. Mm-hmm. And we don't even get 5 snaps into a spring practice. Like spring practice starts tomorrow and he won't be there at all. So I'm wondering what could have changed. I mean, what was your initial reaction when you saw to enter the portal again, assumingly back to Alabama?
First thought was tampering. I highly doubt that happened.
Fair, but like, who knows?
So I did see right away that he went on spring break with all of his Alabama boys.
Yep.
So over the last week, he was on spring break with all those guys, and then I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. I'm not Kaden. I don't know Kaden. I have 0 insight into his mind or what he's been. What's been going on at Iowa, but I would assume this is probably a decision that has weighed on him since he committed to Iowa out of the portal the first time. And there are creeps out there too on Twitter. I saw a tweet today that somebody went through all of his likes and he's still been liking, tweets from Alabama coaches over the last 2 months, which I'm not in, recruits and college kids likes.
Personally,
but there are people out there.
I am not doing that.
Yeah, I am not doing that as well. But it seemed like the writing was kind of on the wall. It was hidden, but it was on the wall. Just from what people are digging up. I'm sad, Jordan. I'm sad.
Well, I like the football side of this. Like, actually, if you could look into the fall for what Iowa had, bringing back the ability to hopefully challenge for a chance to go to Indianapolis, like. Mm-hmm. Seems like the last thing on people's mind right now, and that has everything to do with the NIL side of things. Mm-hmm. It has everything to do with him being so confident coming back to Iowa. Like there wasn't a lot of doubt when he entered the portal that he was going anywhere else. Like there was rumors he was high on Oregon out of high school, but it was right to Iowa, and then now right back to Alabama is what is assumed. So like. I don't really get how that is like what's the mind process there. And I hope it's like one of those things where he just thinks he maybe made a mistake or whatnot, but he didn't really give it a chance either.
No, I mean, I don't even know if he's really been working out in Iowa City. I don't know how long this has been going on. I don't know when the decision was made. I have 0 idea. So I know Iowa's, social media accounts have been posting stuff. They've been back in the gym from what I understand. I have not seen a single picture or video of him. I figured we would have seen something like that over the last couple of weeks as they've gotten back into the gym. I have not seen anything from him. So I don't even know if he's really stepped foot in the weight room and started to work out. I I don't know. I mean, they probably have winter conditioning and everything. I don't know
Yeah,
what the schedule looks like for them. But I can't imagine he's done much.
I
Just
agree. Like it, I think let's talk on a little bit on the NIL side. Like the Swarm
Yep.
Collective around this, the original, the second commitment to the University of Iowa after entering the portal from Alabama, after having a good year, a rough start, if we're being
rough start.
honest, a rough start in Alabama, but the kid got better. He was all SEC. He's a freshman All American.
Mhm.
Like he got better and better. Leaves to go to the University of Iowa, and Iowa's pumped to have him. There's an NIL
Oh yeah.
dollars flying all over the place. I believe the Swarm over 100,000 in 2 days. Not presumably all going to him, but it's a high
Right.
possibility, right? That money, we don't know exactly where it is. We don't know if he's gotten it. We do know he was given a free truck from a dealership. We don't know the stipulations around that. I think this is where people feel upset because these NIL collective dollars aren't coming from the
Yep.
university, right? These are coming from people who attend games with season tickets. This
Yeah.
is extra money on top of season tickets. This is extra money on
Yeah.
top of gas, food, all that stuff, and they feel a little cheated. And
Oh yeah.
should they? Probably. But like, you said, Heinrichs put out a tweet today or pretty recently. What was his take on this? I haven't quite heard.
Yeah. So there were a lot of guys going back and forth, basically saying like, why should I continue to give money to the Swarm, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, Jordan, these are guys like average Joes. There are people that probably work 9 to 5 and are giving money to this collective monthly, whether it's $25, $50, whatever. I mean, like you said, people feel cheated. And there was a back and forth, and Brad ended up getting. I won't go through all the tweets, but towards the bottom, Brad, replied to somebody, and the tweet that he replied to said, "I'm sure he did up front, basically giving Kaden money up front, but hoping our actuary friend leading our collective had some stipulations set out. That's why he's in charge of it. Way smarter than I am." And Brad replied to that and said, "I'm not the smartest guy out there by any stretch, but I am very judicious with Swarm funds, as I know it was hard-earned money that was donated for a good cause." I also saw a tweet that Brad was going to be joining KNXO tomorrow. I don't know if that's true. At 7:15 tomorrow morning. I'm assuming we'll find out more then. But I mean, on top of this NIL collective money, I know you kind of hit on it. During that 2-day stretch when he was in the portal, the Swarm was pushing really hard to raise money, right? And I think you said they raised close to 100,000, if not more. I truthfully think this was to go out and get Kaden and basically say, "Hey, you come back home to Iowa, we'll give you this money that we raised the last 2 days." I could be wrong. I don't know how all that works. Nobody knows outside of the Swarm Collective. But on top of that, he just tweeted within the last 3 weeks that he had an NIL deal with an automotive company in Iowa City. So it's like, he tweeted out that, they hooked him up with a vehicle for the next school year.
Yeah.
Like, he gets to keep that vehicle now. That dealership's more than likely out of, probably a $30,000 to $50,000 vehicle. It's just crazy bonkers how all of this is working. I think
the path we're going down that basically we're hinting at is this isn't the first time this is going to happen somewhere. It probably isn't the first time it's happened somewhere. It's not the last time it's going to happen somewhere. The more and more kids transfer, I think the bigger worry is that he never took a snap. Like if he, let's say he plays at Iowa for a year and then the 25 window comes around and then he leaves, I think people can eat that and handle that. It's the fact that the kid never played a snap. He was on campus less than 2 months. And if he got $100 and some thousand worth or X amount, just not to speculate, just X amount was given that amount of money to never take a snap in an Iowa uniform after a second commitment to a school, there's issues. And that's why a lot of people have a problem with the NIL thing. And like, that's the really ugly side of it. But in your opinion, like, how do you fix that?
Well, I mean, really the biggest way to fix that would be to implement some sort of contractual structure, but that's not college at that point anymore. You're basically a free agent like you are in the NFL, and you can pick and choose where you go, and you sign for a certain amount of money, And I mean, that's basically what it is nowadays. It's free agency.
It
These
is.
kids are in the portal, and all of these schools are contacting them and telling them that they're going to pay them X amount of dollars and you're going to get X amount of perks if you come to our school. It's basically like a semi-professional league. It's not college football anymore. I don't know
Correct.
how you fix it, and that's why coaches like Saban are retiring. That's why coaches are taking lower jobs in other places. Like, I know there have been coaches that have like, even you look at UCLA's coach Chip Kelly. He wants out of a head coaching job because he doesn't want to deal with the logistics of it. There were rumors that he low-key wanted to come to Iowa. Jordan, I can tell you those rumors were true.
Yeah.
I've got some sources on the inside of Iowa's program, just from a friend of mine that was a manager at Iowa for quite a while. I won't name names, but he's got connections still in the program. I know Chip Kelly was involved in the hiring process, and there are people on Twitter that were talking about that. There are like high-profile coaches that are trying to step away from head coaching because of the way college football is nowadays.
100%.
And that's crazy to me.
Fast. Just off the top of my head, Georgia State lost a head coach off of this, and a couple more G5s within a couple months. And when it sucks if we're being completely brutal honest about this. Like, there's no way to go about it. Like, it is contractual obligations. In some places, these kids are wanting to be employees of the school.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to a point where if they do become employees of the school or contractually obligated to the school, you have to be here for 2 years to get that full amount. Let's just say.
Yep.
Then this is going to get unionized, and then people are going to get upset, and then a player's going to get hurt by this contract if somewhere down the road, like the school's getting hurt in this situation, or not the school, the collective, but the football program as a whole, right? We're not dumb. We're smart enough to know that the NAL cannot be a part of the school. School can't have anything to do with it, but it has everything to do with it at the same time, right? A kid's going to get screwed over by this at some point too, and then we're going to have to look at it real hard, because when it's a kid that an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid getting screwed by the system, it's a bigger deal.
Right.
And if this happens at a bigger program, like if this happened at an Alabama and Auburn, a USC and Oregon, Georgia, just go down the list, Clemson, like this is a much, much, much bigger deal. But it happening in Iowa is kind of like, oh, that stinks. Like, how much crazier can it get? Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're going to go away from the NCAA. There's going to be no structure to it. It's going to be run by the players, just like the NFL is, right? They've got a players' association and a commissioner, and that's how the NFL is run. That's basically what we're heading towards. There's no structure within the NCAA right now. It's basically a free for all. And I mean, and I think why today was so prevalent and why it's been in national Twitter news is because of the way it transpired. People realized that this dude took money to come to Iowa. And, Iowa's not, I mean, people make jokes about Iowa. Their offense has been garbage the last 3 to 5 years, whatever. That's how people know Iowa is their garbage offense. So they're the butt of everybody's joke right now, right? The 5-star recruit in-state commits to Iowa, decommits, goes down to Alabama. Transfers from Alabama back to Iowa, and it's now going back to Alabama. Like, and he basically is, from what I understand, is taking everything that he made in the 2-month period with him. And like you said earlier, I mean, this probably isn't the first time this has happened. This is probably one of the first times a 5-star recruit has done something like this.
Yeah.
Flip-flop to this fast within a 2-month period after collecting from NIL, doing all this. And I just, in your opinion, how do you stop it? You asked me the same question. How does this get controlled? I mean,
this has got to become, this can't be an NCAA problem anymore, because we've seen the NCAA can't handle that. We need a governing body within college football that runs college football. They're not dealing with college basketball, baseball, softball, track and field, whatnot.
Right.
But you also have to find the right guy to run it. And I believe he's running the SEC right now with Greg Sankey. But you're going to have to get people involved, and not just ADs, not just
Yep.
ex-coaches. You're going to need current coaches. You're going to need guys that run NIL collectives, and just across the board, and really have to talk through it, because this has got to be contractually obligated, or how the money is received. I think the schools, before anything, are going to figure out how they're going to do it. They're going to be like, actually, we're not going to give you anything up front. Like, this is, we give you the X amount up front, but it's a lot less significant than it would have been had we not got screwed over. Because $100,000 to your collective, right, doesn't just hurt you now. It hurts you 6 months down the road. Like you were saying, are people going to continue to push in the same amount of money? Are you going to be as fast to give that amount of money to this kid, right?
All right.
Like, whether he's a 4 or 5-star kid or a 3-star kid that I was used to recruiting, how far away do you push that down, and how big does that number get before you get screwed over 1 or 2 more times?
I mean, and this kind of goes back to, the comments Kirk made about evaluating a kid's character before, they recruit them, and making sure that they're a fit, right? The thing that hurts me is, I mean, I know we have the spring window now to go out and get somebody if we want to tackle. If we're not confident in our left tackle, we can go out and get somebody. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that 100,000 could have been used towards somebody that wanted to be a part of Iowa's program, 100%. From start to finish.
Or kids that are already there that earned it.
Right, that deserve it.
I'm looking at you, Sebastian Castro. I'm looking at you, Jay Higgins.
Yeah, Nick Jackson, even that came in from Virginia and is staying for a 5th year or 6th year.
Luke Lachey, I mean, a guy just came off of a broken leg in a horrific way, and probably could have got a couple million had a full year. But let's jump into some of these comments. I think it's nice that we're getting some interaction here. Obviously, Jake, part of the podcast, listening in on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it at the time. What's the pressure on KF for the O-line development now this year? I mean, can it get too much more? Right? Like Greg Barnett's, it's kind of been decided that KF loves him. He thinks he's doing a fine job. But how much talent is really there to develop? These guys have been on campus 4 or 5 years, right? Like, at some point, it's not a development problem; it's a talent problem with what you have on the offensive line. Like, let's run through these. We were talking about it right before we went live. Left tackle probably going to be Mason Richmond, Connor Colby at left guard, Jones at center. We're gonna have Nick DeYoung at right guard, and Jennings Ducker at right tackle. This is a group we've seen multiple times, and it's been the worst 3-year stretch of Iowa offensive line play we've seen since I can remember. KF's first couple of years when they're winning 1 or 2 games a year. Like, this is a backbone of what we do, and if it's not good, something's got to change. And I think KF knows that, but maybe this lights a fire under these guys' ass. Like, somebody just got their job back, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pressure, but it comes with the territory in this situation, right?
100%. I mean, you've got 5 guys across the line that have experience, right? You're not going to sit them on the bench.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's not really a development problem at the moment. I think it's more of a recruiting problem. I think they kind of missed the ball a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Class, you missed 1 or 2 classes, it hurt.
Yeah, it hurt them bad. And I know they're pretty high on the guys that are underneath them right now, but they're not going to see the field.
100%.
We know Kirk's not going to put them out in the field.
I think I saw a couple questions here. One from Christian, one from Chris. Correct, Parks? I think you threw one of those up there for me. A couple comments. How did they get him back? Basically, the NIL collective at the University of Alabama isn't as strong as they'd like it to be right now. How did they get him back? If Nick Saban was still sitting at the throne in Tuscaloosa, I definitely would be like, that's why it's the Saban. You get a discount when Nick Saban's your head guy. I think it might be as simple as the kid loved who he was around down there. And if enough kids stayed there, like, we've been kind of talking about like him taking the money. We don't know if he took the money for sure. We don't think he has any character problems. We've never heard of it anywhere at all. It might just be as simple as he thought he made the wrong decision. He really liked the idea of competing for a national title. Maybe he's hearing really good things from these kids that he's still in contact with about what DeBoer is doing in Tuscaloosa. Like, I believe all those things because a lot of people like Kalen DeBoer. Yeah. I think that is how they maybe got him back. Maybe, and again, like, I don't know if it's anything within the Iowa program. I highly doubt it. There's anything that chased him away. I think it's a FOMO thing a little bit. FOMO missing out at a national title run, winning an SEC title, possibly being an All-American on an Alabama offensive line. His boys down there in Tuscaloosa, like Wampa. It sounds like Wampa had no idea. He just said, "Damn." He tweeted out and said, "Damn," like he had no idea. So like, I think your newfound friends in Tuscaloosa may have found out first and really been the key on this. Do you think it has? It's got to be a little bit of FOMO, right? Like he just loved the kids down there and what he was around.
I think spring break probably solidified it. I'm assuming he went on spring break with the idea in the back of his head, like, oh, well, what if I went back? And he went on spring break with his boys. He had probably, a great time. And he was like, screw it, I'm going back. I mean, Iowa they even gave him his number. I don't know if you saw that today, but he got his number back. Like they talked somebody else out of wearing that number that was wearing it. He got his number back and everything. I mean, I'm assuming Iowa rolled the red carpet out for him. I mean, people went nuts for him at Carver. He even said that the bridge was not burned. He was obviously going to start day one. I mean, unless I'm missing something, I don't know what could have happened within Iowa's program over the last 2 months that would have drove him back down to Tuscaloosa.
100%. Yeah. Going to Burst's comment here, like bigger deal at Iowa because this doesn't come along. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it's even bigger deal when you're that poor at the position, right? And then you've been a laughing stock like we've talked about on the offensive line, on the offensive side of the ball in general. And you had the ability to fix it with a new OC hire. And then you go and get a guy, a homegrown talent who's, if we're being honest, Iowa has had great success with guys within the state of Iowa becoming studs. This one was already a stud. And so it does hurt. It hurts a ton. And like we talked about, like what does it mean for the University of Iowa going into 2024? And I think it means your starting level now, or where you thought the offense could launch from, is now a step or two below exactly where we would like to be. And spring practice tomorrow, hopefully Kirk Presser within the next 4 or 5 days to a week. I would love to hear it because what makes me more mad is now we're gonna have to hear more about people asking Proctor questions instead of I want to know how the quarterback room's looking. I want to know who's getting the snaps. I want to know how Lester's going about adding guys in, and that's not going to be the focal point of this presser anymore. So, if you guys have any more questions, keep flinging them through the comments. Love that you guys are interacting. Appreciate you joining in as well. I think I have just one more thing we really want to talk on. Josh Pate, one of the bigger names within the college football world, tweeted out today. This is, quote, not one of the top three craziest things I've heard rumbling for the spring transfer portal window. Talking about Proctor leaving Iowa again to Alabama. He said it's not in the top 3 things he's heard. And I just want to preface by saying this guy has more connections than almost anybody in college football, right? He doesn't burn any bridges. He's not going to tell anybody anything till it gets out in the media anyway. If this is not cracking your top 3, this is the second overall player in the portal in the last window. What could possibly be coming down the pipeline? I mean,
money talks, man. I'm telling you, these collectives are just raising, shitloads of money, and these players know that, and it's crazy. Like it's just going to continue to get crazier until we've got some sort of structure put in place. I love Josh Pate. Like you said, he's got a ton of connections. And there are some other folks, Hayes Fawcett on Twitter. He does all the graphics. He's constantly in contact with these recruits and these college players. He also said that he thinks we're in for a insane spring.
I hate that because that gets everybody back, right? You're not getting snaps for kids.
Yeah,
like
I know.
It's all fall camp.
You think about it, there's some pretty, I'm not saying, Iowa's going to, continue to lose guys, but, that always is a fear, right? We've got some guy, Caleb Brown. He's a, top of my list. He's probably our best receiver right now, right? There's always a fear that he leaves. He came from Ohio State. He was a 5-star recruit. You have these guys coming in that Iowa hasn't seen come in, over the last 10 years. Former 5-star receiver coming in from Ohio State, transferring. It's huge, right? You don't want to see him leave. And I think with the Proctor news today, people are gonna, be a little skittish about, this spring stint and getting through summer towards the fall, and making sure we've got a solid roster going into the fall. It's a fear of mine, right? Last year, Caleb Brown came on late in the year, but it's like, you got players like Caleb Johnson that weren't seeing the field, and I know Caleb's talented back. Caleb's talented back. But Iowa, they love their running back rotations, and it's like, we haven't seen anybody transfer yet, but it wouldn't surprise me to see one of those backs transfer in the spring. And that, that's 100%. A fear. That's a fear of fans nowadays.
Yeah.
And,
we got a comment here that says Bama's NIL is not weak. The English and grammar is on this comment, though. Huge relationships with Bama players. We 100% agree. Like he does have. We talked about that a little bit earlier, how great the relationships he obviously has with people still on campus in Tuscaloosa. And that's huge, massive. Like if you were with your friends for a whole year, enjoyed the hell out of your time there, decided to leave maybe after a coaching change, and then you kind of just see like, hey, these guys are the real deal. That was a great time being there. Yeah, 100% fun with real deal. I'm not going to say like the NIL was weak. I'm not the one that commented that. That came in as a comment and a question for us.
Yeah.
I never said that. I'm not dumb enough to think that they don't have money down in Alabama. They do. I think they're just saying the collective itself isn't up to par. I'm not saying there's not millions of dollars flying around Tuscaloosa. I'm not ignorant enough to say that. Do you think Proctor saw the offensive line talent, the scheme, and said, I'm a head out? I don't. Burris, you're the optimist in this crew, and that's like, I don't think it could have been that bad, right? Like, how sexy was Alabama's scheme last year? Let's run the ball for
bad.
2.2 yards a carry, chug it deep, and hope Milrow hits.
I mean, like you said, Jordan. I mean, Proctor got abused the first 3-4 weeks. He got abused. Yeah. He was getting shown on tape as a freshman 5-star getting his ass kicked in the SEC, right? He was going to have a spot. I mean, and Iowa used to be, since, before, Brian kind of took made that transition offensive coordinator. You had guys like, T. Addy Works. You had guys like Linderbaum, who became an amazing center. He was an amazing center in the NFL today.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even his natural position. The offensive line development over the last 20 years has been, up there with the Alabamas, sending people to the NFL.
It's been a top 5 offensive line factory for 20 some years.
Yes.
One more comment here. I think Parks, you just popped it on. Down bad. Hey, I agree. I agree. I'm on the same page as you. I think the program needs a facelift. It needs a little kick in the ass. And I kind of hope Ferentz comes out like firing, because Ferentz will never burn a bridge. He'll never say anything bad about a kid. And I don't think he thinks Proctor's a bad kid. I know for a fact this little fire under his ass, and he's a little upset about it, because how do you not?
He did put out a statement today, Jordan. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. He put out
it was very basic. It was very basic.
Statement. He said,
yes.
Sad to see him leave the program. Hope him absolute best. Yeah. Like, exactly, Brock. Like, Kaden had it hard at Alabama. I mean, he got thrown to the fire. And they played good football teams. They played Texas early in the year, and he got eaten alive. And he just ate it and got better and better and better and better. And he's going to be a lottery, or not a lottery pick. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to go in the first 10 picks of the NFL draft in 2 years. That's a simple fact. I have no idea. I don't keep tabs on his girlfriend.
I saw somebody tweet that tonight.
I think people are just looking for any answer at this point. But last thing before we'll go here, Rick, in the next presser, what are you really hoping to hear out of Tim Lester and Kirk Ferentz, not Proctor related?
I think, Lester went out in his initial presser, and he answered all the questions the way he should have, I think. I'm not as mad at the hire as other people are. It did sound like Kirk is going to kind of give him leeway into how
Yep.
he runs the offense. I'll believe it when I see it. But I do believe that I want to say this nicely. I think Brian was more of a puppet for Kirk than, the hire should have never been made. I'll just say that and leave it at that.
Don't
The
go
hire
down
should
this
have never
rabbit
been
hole.
made.
Don't go to the
Yes.
rabbit hole.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And I think bringing in Lester will kind of hopefully let Kirk begin to let go. He'll
Let's
never let
lift
go
Kirk in
fully.
the. He'll live in the CEO suite, run the
Yeah,
program the way it's supposed to.
I
run,
mean,
like he
yeah,
has
I don't get.
forever.
I want to. I would. He gets the opportunity to retire when he wants to retire.
That's fine.
That's
We
fine
just
with
gotta
me.
we gotta adapt.
The way that Lester runs the offense, long story short, I am excited. I think Iowa needs to get the ball out quick. I want them to kind of go back to trying to be a bully up front. I know we just talked about the offensive line. If we can establish some sort of run game and get the RPOs going, open up play action, I hope Cade comes back and is healthy. I know he didn't look great last year. He wasn't healthy. But if he can come back and be somewhat close to what he was at Michigan, I think Iowa has a chance to turn things around and at least take some steps forward and take some pressure off the defense. I'm
100%.
excited. I hope they come out and talk about some of the young guns that are getting opportunities during spring camp.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I want to hear about the quarterback room. I want to know
me
if
too.
Michael's got the fair shake at being the head guy there. I want to know if he's the one getting the majority of the snaps all spring or if it's Deacon Hill. I'd love to know how the running back room's progressing. I think Williams is a stud. I think Caleb Johnson has this tremendous upside we haven't seen yet. Just excited to hear about it. I mean, it can't get any better on defense. I'd love to see it get better. Just give me the same and we'll be perfect, right? So appreciate everybody joining in. A ton of fun. Obviously not the fun that we wanted, but it was a ton of fun to go through the Hawks in this spring. We'll hopefully be back in the next couple of weeks with a post-spring first presser for Kirk Ferentz, and then we'll go throughout the year. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're here on Twitter, follow us, share us, like everything there. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. We'll be here weekly. We're actually live tomorrow night starting at 6:30 with a little bit of a college basketball / college football March Madness thing. We'll do a bracket if it was college football. It's going to be a ton of fun. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Go Hawks.